cornfields could be haunted. They whisper, sure, but that's just the wind, right? That's what I used to believe. Until the harvest of 2019. I run a small family farm outside Ottumwa, Iowa. My father owned it before me, and his father before him. We're not rich, but we've always managed to keep the lights on, until that summer. The soil turned against us. The corn wilted before it even grew knee-high. The cows stopped eating. The ground cracked open, dry as ash even after rain. I did everything I could, fertilizers, irrigation, even seed replacements. Nothing worked. Then my wife, Claire, said something I'll never forget. Maybe it's time to ask your mother. Now, you need to understand something about my mother. She believed in old things. Folk remedies. Blessings. Spells passed down from her grandmother, who came from Appalachia. She called it keeping balance with the land. I always brushed it off. Until the year the soil stopped listening. When I went to her house that evening, she was already waiting on the porch, rocking slowly, eyes fixed on the horizon. You finally came, she said. The field's gone sour, hasn't it? I told her about the dying crops, the cracked earth, the strange quiet at night. She listened without saying a word, then reached for the necklace around her neck. It held a small leather pouch tied with red string. She pressed it into my hand. Bury this at the edge of your field before midnight, she said. And when the moon turns, the land will listen again. I asked her what was in the pouch. She just smiled. Nothing that doesn't already belong to the earth. That night, I did as she said. I buried it near the scarecrow, right under the black walnut tree that marks the. The moon was a thin sickle, the kind that makes the corn glow silver. As I walked back to the house, the wind stopped. Completely. The silence was so heavy it felt like the air was holding its breath. And then, I heard something. From beneath the ground. A faint sighing sound. Like the earth itself was exhaling. By morning, the corn was standing tall again. Green. Strong. Too strong. Within a week, the whole field came back to life, faster than anything I'd ever seen. The stalks grew taller than me. The ears were huge, heavy with kernels that shimmered faintly in the sunlight. Claire called it a miracle. I called it impossible. Even the cows returned to normal, and for a while, things were good again. We talked about finally paying off the debts, maybe taking a small vacation. But then, things started to change. It began with the crows. They stopped flying over the field. Usually we'd have hundreds of them this time of year, noisy and hungry. But not a single one came near the corn. Even the wind seemed to curve around it, like it didn't want to touch the stalks. One night, I went out to check the irrigation line. The moon was high, and the corn looked almost alive, swaying though there was no breeze. As I walked between the rows, I thought I heard whispering. Not from behind me. Not from above. From the ground. Soft, slow murmurs, like people talking through soil. I knelt down and pressed my ear to the earth. And I swear to you, I heard breathing. A few days later, I found my dog, Tucker, lying dead at the edge of the field. No wounds. No sign of struggle. Just still. When I tried to bury him, the shovel hit something hard only a few inches down. I thought it was a rock. It wasn't. It was a bone. White, clean, and too big to belong to any animal I knew. Then I saw more. Dozens of them, packed tight like roots. I dropped the shovel and ran inside. Claire said I was imagining things, but when I went back the next day, the bones were gone. Not a trace left. Only perfect, untouched soil. That night, I confronted my mother. She didn't look surprised when I told her. She just sighed and said, "The land took what it needed." "What do you mean, needed?" I asked. "Balance," she said. "You asked it to give, and it gave. But everything that grows has a price." "What kind of price?" She didn't answer. She only looked out the window toward the fields, her face pale in the moonlight. "Whatever you do, don't go out there after midnight," she whispered. "And don't listen when it calls your name." Of course, I didn't listen. Farmers can't afford superstition when something's threatening the crop. So that night, when I heard movement in the field, I grabbed my flashlight and went out. The corn was swaying again, but not from wind. Each stalk moved on its own, shifting and bending as though something underneath was pushing them aside. I walked deeper until I reached the center, where the moonlight barely touched the ground. The air smelled like wet iron and rot. Then I saw them. Shapes between the rows. Half buried, half grown. They looked like people, faces forming beneath the soil, eyes wide open, mouths gasping as if they were trying to breathe through the dirt. And they were whispering my name. Eli, Eli, join the harvest. The flashlight flickered and died. The ground beneath my feet started to pulse, rising and falling like a heartbeat. I ran, crashing through the corn until I reached the edge of the field. Behind me, I heard the stalks tearing, breaking, something large moving through them, chasing me. When I turned, I saw the scarecrow. Except it wasn't where I left it. It was standing in the middle of the field, head tilted toward me. And I swear, under the moonlight, its mouth was moving. By morning, the field was still. The corn gleamed golden in the sun, perfect as ever. Claire didn't believe a word I said, but when I told my mother, she only nodded. It's awake now, she said. And it's feeding. I tried to burn the field that night. Poured gas all around, lit the match. But the fire wouldn't catch. The stalks hissed, the flames died, and when I looked down, I saw the soil shifting. Tiny, pale fingers curling just beneath the surface. We left the farm that winter. Sold it cheap. The new owners said they'd never seen corn grow so fast. Sometimes, when I drive past the old road, I stop and listen. On quiet nights, if the wind's right, you can still hear it, that soft whisper rising from the rows. Calling for me. The land doesn't forget. It always takes back what it's owed.